2023 once again has proven to be an amazing year for gaming. With the recent news regarding Final Fantasy XVI, especially on the details on combat and the visuals and also the world exploration, I'm really looking forward to see what this game has to offer for us in general. Putting all those exciting stuff aside, today I would like to voice my thoughts a little bit regarding the difficulty option for Final Fantasy XVI after the information that we got from the KKaceh presentation, since I think this is a very interesting topic to discuss about. But before we start the video, I would like to ask you to help me by subscribing to my channel so that I can be one step closer towards my goal to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Just a few seconds of your time, please. Well, if you're done, now let's get into the video.
Welcome to the stage of history retold.
With the new information regarding Final Fantasy XVI came out during KKaceh about a few days ago, at least when this video comes out, I just would like to voice my thoughts a little bit regarding the game difficulty. As Yoshi P has presented during his presentation, when he tried to say that the game is for everyone and demonstrated the options to be more assisted with action combat of the game, due to the fact that real-time action combat is not everyone, and they can be very difficult for those who are not used to action game, that can even lead to a frustration instead of enjoyment in a game.
So again, with Final Fantasy XVI, we don't have the traditional difficulty system where you choose like easy mode or normal mode or hard mode. The difficulty is the same, and we change the difficulty, and each player can customize their own difficulty by equipping or unequipping these timely accessories to basically match their own skill level.
From what we know, the game allows you to equip up to 3 assisted accessories, be it like something like auto dodge, slow time before evasion so you can press a button to dodge it easier, auto combo, auto heal, and many more that haven't fully revealed yet. Let me give you my take on this information. Game difficulty has always been a topic of conversation, especially when the Souls series become more widespread, especially around the release of Sekiro, and further when Elden Ring came out. Oscar made a very amazing video about it. You guys really should check out his channel. Well, I digress. Even back then, there were many very difficult games, like Ninja Gaiden or a very high difficulty Devil May Cry games, but I don't think the number of players are as high as Souls game or Elden Ring, as those games are not for everyone. It's not made for everyone. Well, in modern times now, many companies are making games that aims towards everyone, as they want to reach as many potential player base as possible. And if we speak about games in general, most games always still give a traditional difficulty option when they start the game. From the title screen that you can choose between easy, normal, hard, the very basic ones. But recently, from my experience of playing and observing many other players playing video games, most of the games add difficulties these days just for the sake of adjusting the game to the skill level or experience of the players. But many modern games these days, sometimes they don't even test those difficulties, which can cause some frustration for the players. The one that comes on top of my mind right now is the Resident Evil 3 remake. The hardest difficulty is just kind of cheap sometimes. Honestly, that by itself is fine, but I feel that those who play harder difficulty should be rewarded for having the skills and willing to put in the effort to learn the game and challenge the harder difficulty with those skills that they have developed. But let me just acknowledge something before delving more into traditional difficulty setting. Elden Ring is quite famous to have an in-game difficulty setting where the game will be a lot easier if you play a certain style or certain build, like focusing on sorcery on using summons for instance, or maybe use the famous Moon Veil that can deal a lot of damage for a mid-range distance, or even the River of Blood, which is quite overpowered. Well, of course, the payoff would be that you will be missing out the experience of dancing with the bosses and get to appreciate what they do and their beauty up close when you engage them quite slowly. But not all games needed to be like Elden Ring. In traditional difficulty setting, it's still fine if they are implemented correctly and play tested, and giving rewards to the players and doesn't feel cheap when we are playing them. Cheap as if we die because of one shot attack, or sometimes the enemies just stun lock us non-stop until we die. I'm gonna stop talking about the bad experience, but let me give you my favorite example of games when playing harder difficulty feels just right for me. Tales of series. One thing I remember for sure, at least with traditional game settings, they could add incentive to the player, much like how Tales of Series games usually reward you with more experience or upgrade points or money if you play in harder difficulty. Then again, this is quite limited to RPG types of games. And also, in reality, not many games actually implement that kind of system. They just put it there for the sake of it being there. Other than Tales of series, if you go a little bit into action games, my favorite games with difficulty setting will be Resident Evil games. Well, outside remake number 3, my new. Because the enemies are much tougher and sometimes resources are more scarce, which means you need to be careful on how you approach the enemies, otherwise you will get swarmed or finding yourself in a situation where you don't have enough bullets. Well, what's the reward, you ask? Well, the experience itself is the reward. Since you're learning to be better in action game like Resident Evil, a survival horror, where you need to manage your resources properly, also make a good decision if you can make use of opportunity to use one item to wipe out multiple enemies. In essence, those experience itself makes a very uniquely satisfying experience that you get out of the game, and you feel good if you manage to pull those off till the end of the game. This is why, based on the information we have received so far on Final Fantasy XVI, I'm quite happy with Final Fantasy XVI, honestly. If you decided to use all of those assisted items, you'll be rewarded with less overall grade points, which I hope could translate to less experience, or maybe upgrade points so that you will encourage players to keep learning and not relying on those items to enjoy the game fully eventually, and be amazed with yourself while you manage to pull off all of those amazing combos and pulling off perfect dodges. Speaking of grades, we don't know the full details on what grades will translate into in terms of improvement for Cliff, or maybe Gil. I hope we get to hear more explanation on it next time, which is maybe around April. Additionally, if players decide to use those assisted items, they will be missing out on self-satisfaction when you manage to perform perfect dodges, parries, or dishing out your own combo in a very cool manner. Well, in conclusion, I'm happy enough that Yoshi P and team desires to make the game for everyone is well thought out like this, at least from what we have seen so far. It's not as deep and sophisticated like Elden Ring in-game difficulty settings, it's very depending on your playstyle, but I think those who are not used to action game combat will benefit a lot with the assisted system. If you think that you're not good enough with the combos, help yourself out with a bit of auto combo until you get used to the fighting rhythm. If you're not good with dodging, help yourself out with the auto dodge until you're confident that you're able to react to the enemies. Or if you just want to have fun with the story and all the flashy elements of the game and also the visuals of the world, you don't even need to take off any of the assistance. Also keep in mind that the fact you are given a choice within the game itself on what assistant that can be changed at any given time is already a more engaging way and a unique take on difficulty in a video game. I don't have a PS5 yet, but when I do, I'm going to try all these options and feel the difference with having those on and without them, no matter how late I am starting this game compared to the others. Well, that's it for now regarding Final Fantasy XVI difficulty. What do you guys think about this decision that Yoshi P and other devs made? Is there a better way they could do about it and reaching out to more people while addressing the difficulty issue? Let everyone know in the comment section. Until the next video, stay sharp gamers.
Thanks for watching. Bye. Please subscribe. Bye.
The legend will never die.